everyone, welcome back. Today, we're diving into something really fascinating, a subtle gesture that 89% of women say makes them feel completely safe around older men. And no, it's not something flashy, expensive, or obvious. It's quiet. It's small, but it sends a message louder than words ever could. Most people completely miss these signs because they don't look like trust or safety at all. But once you notice them, you'll start seeing them everywhere in cafes, at work, even just walking down the street. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll not only recognize this gesture, but you'll also understand why it triggers such a strong sense of security. And if you enjoy this breakdown, I've got a related video coming up on how subtle habits reveal true character, so don't miss that one. Let's get into it. Let's be honest, reading people is hard, especially when it comes to figuring out if someone is genuinely safe or just putting on a show. Women often rely on big gestures, compliments, bold attention, or grand acts to feel reassured. But older men, particularly those who are emotionally intelligent, often communicate in quieter, subtler ways. And that's exactly why it's confusing. Imagine you're out for coffee, and a man keeps glancing at his phone while nodding politely. You might think, is he even paying attention? But sometimes, these tiny, almost invisible actions, like a brief pause before speaking, a soft tone, or a small nod of acknowledgement, are what women interpret as signs of safety. Here's the tricky part. Our brains are wired to notice big, dramatic cues, smiles, laughs, and obvious charm. Subtle gestures? Not so much. That's why so many women miss them, even when the safest people are right in front of them. Women also subconsciously look for consistency and intentionality in someone's behavior. It's not about grand gestures or expensive gifts. It's about reliability, calmness, and respect, all communicated through microactions. When these small behaviors line up over time, they create a sense of trust and emotional security that's almost impossible to fake. So, if you've ever found yourself wondering, why do I feel safe around this one person and not another? You're not imagining it. There's a method to the subtlety, and we're about to break it down. Of course, not every older man behaves the same way. People are complex and context always matters. Some men may do one or two of these behaviors without it meaning anything profound. Others may do all of them consistently, sending a clear message of safety. Think of these as common patterns, not hard rules. This is about tendencies, psychological cues, and behaviors that women consistently report as feeling protective, respectful, and reassuring. So with that in mind, here are the 5 subtle gestures that women overwhelmingly say make them feel safe, and why they work on a psychological level. These gestures aren't flashy. They aren't designed to impress. Instead, they communicate something far more important: respect, attentiveness, and a steady presence. And once you notice them, you'll realize why women often feel an instinctive sense of calm around these men. Let's start with the first gesture, the one that might surprise you. It sounds simple, right? Just looking someone in the eyes. But here's the thing, eye contact communicates far more than words ever could. When an older man maintains steady, gentle eye contact while you're speaking, it tells your brain one thing loud and clear: I'm present. I'm listening. You're safe with me. Imagine this. You're at a cozy cafe, sharing a story about a stressful day. Most people might glance at their phones, check a notification, or even nod absent-mindedly. But he leans in slightly, meets your eyes without staring, and lets you finish your story. No interruptions, no faking attention. Just a quiet presence that says, I hear you. I respect you. Psychologically, this works because it signals emotional availability and stability. Humans are wired to pick up on subtle cues of attentiveness. Consistent eye contact reduces uncertainty and creates a sense of connection without overwhelming or pressuring someone. It's safe, steady, and reassuring, almost like a nonverbal promise that he's someone you can rely on. What's fascinating is how this tiny gesture differs from the exaggerated, over-the-top signals you see in movies or social media. There's no intensity, no staring, no dramatic tension. Just calm, measured attention. and women notice it, even if they can't immediately put it into words. Here's a little real-world tip. If you notice someone giving you calm, consistent eye contact, pay attention to how it makes you feel over time. Do you feel more relaxed around them? More willing to open up? That's the safety signal at work. And it's powerful because it's subtle enough to go unnoticed by most people, but clear enough to make an emotional impact. Even in group settings, this gesture stands out. While others may glance away, fidget, or look distracted, he maintains his presence. It creates a quiet sense of priority, without ever saying, "I'm prioritizing you." The mind subconsciously notices this, and it triggers comfort and trust almost instantly. So next time you catch yourself feeling unexpectedly safe around someone older, check their eye contact. Chances are that calm, steady gaze is doing more work than any words ever could. Now, let's talk about gestures that might seem almost invisible but carry a lot of weight. This isn't about grand displays or heroic deeds. It's the tiny, considerate actions that show someone is attentive and reliable. For example, holding the door open when you're juggling bags, offering a jacket when it's a bit chilly, or noticing that you might need a moment of space and giving it without asking. Imagine this scenario. You're leaving a coffee shop with your hands full of groceries. Most people might just keep walking, immersed in their own world. But he steps up, gently holds the door, and even smiles without making a big deal out of it. It's subtle, almost effortless, yet it leaves a lasting impression.
Why?
Because these little actions communicate respect, attentiveness, and consideration, all key components of emotional safety. Psychologically, these gestures signal awareness and consistency. Women notice when someone observes their needs without making it about themselves. It's the difference between thinking, "He's doing this to impress me," and "He genuinely sees me." The latter creates trust, comfort, and yes, safety. It's also worth noting that the subtlety matters. Overly dramatic or constant helpfulness can feel performative, but small, well-timed gestures feel authentic and natural. They indicate that someone is not only capable of caring but also respects boundaries and personal space. Think about your own experiences. When someone offers help without making a fuss, it feels calming. You don't feel indebted, pressured, or overwhelmed, just seen and supported. That's why these gestures resonate so strongly. Even in everyday situations, the pattern matters. Over time, small acts of thoughtful help build a cumulative sense of reliability. Women pick up on this subconsciously, and it's one of the reasons older men often exude a sense of safety without even trying. So next time you notice someone quietly attentive to your needs, pay attention. That's one of the most powerful nonverbal ways someone can make you feel secure. Safety isn't just about being attentive or consistent. It's also about feeling comfortable and relaxed around someone. And one of the subtle ways older men convey this is through gentle humor and approachable relatability. Not the loud, over-the-top comedy that dominates social media, but small, situational humor that puts people at ease. Picture this. You're at a work event, and someone accidentally knocks over a cup of coffee. Most people might stiffen or ignore it, but he cracks a light, non-judgmental joke. Nothing mean-spirited, just enough to make everyone smile, and calmly helps clean it up. The humor breaks tension, signals emotional intelligence, and makes you feel safe in that moment. Psychologically, humor like this signals confidence without arrogance. It communicates, "I'm comfortable with myself, and I don't need to dominate or control the situation." That subtle confidence, paired with relatability, helps women feel grounded and secure. Another example. Maybe he casually shares a small anecdote about a relatable mistake he once made or a quirky habit he has. It's not self-deprecating in a weak way, but authentic and human. This transparency fosters connection because it says, "I'm real. I'm consistent. You can trust me to be genuine." Emotionally intelligent, aware, and capable of handling stress calmly. That's precisely why this behavior resonates so strongly with women. And here's the kicker. Approachable humor is subtle enough to fly under the radar for most people, but women notice it subconsciously. That feeling of being relaxed and at ease? That's the invisible layer of safety being communicated. So next time you notice someone who makes you smile without overdoing it, or who can lighten a tense moment while staying composed, pay attention. That's not just charm, that's a psychological safety signal at work. One of the most powerful ways someone makes women feel safe is simply being consistently present. This isn't about showing up in dramatic ways or constantly proving yourself. It's about subtle, intentional actions over time that demonstrate reliability. Imagine this: you're part of a group meeting, a class, or even just a regular social circle. There's one person who always seems to notice you, not in a forced way, but naturally. They make small gestures, a smile when they see you, remembering a detail you mentioned days ago, or quietly checking in to see if you're okay. Over weeks, these small, consistent acts create a feeling of stability. Psychologically, this taps into something fundamental. Humans are wired to notice patterns of behavior. A single kind act might be seen as a coincidence, but repeated, intentional gestures signal a dependable character. That's why women often describe older men as feeling safe, because they consistently show up, not just physically, but emotionally. Consistency doesn't mean predictability in a boring sense. It means reliability in their presence and intentions. They show up when they say they will, respect boundaries, and make an effort to be attentive without being overbearing. Even in casual or everyday scenarios, these repeated signals build trust without any need for verbal affirmation. A micro-story example. Imagine a man notices you're stressed before an important presentation. He doesn't interrupt or overstep, but he offers a calm word of encouragement or shares a relevant tip quietly. Over time, you start noticing that he's always there in small, unobtrusive ways, a subtle pillar of support. That's the essence of intentional presence. In relationships, social circles, or casual encounters, this kind of behavior sends a clear signal. You are acknowledged, respected, and your well-being matters. And the fascinating part? Women sense this instinctively, even if they can't articulate exactly why they feel safe. So next time you notice someone showing up in small, consistent ways, remembering details, offering quiet support, or just being reliably attentive, pay attention. That's one of the strongest nonverbal ways a person communicates trustworthiness and emotional safety. In today's world, safety and attentiveness aren't just communicated face-to-face. They also show up online. A subtle message, a check-in text, or even responding thoughtfully to something you shared can signal emotional presence and reliability. For example, imagine you posted about a stressful day or shared an achievement. He doesn't just react with a generic cool or emoji. He takes a moment to acknowledge it genuinely. I saw your post. That sounds like a tough day. Hope you're doing okay. It's small, but it shows he's paying attention, respects your feelings, and values your well-being. Psychologically, these tiny digital gestures are powerful because they extend presence and care beyond physical interaction. For many women, they feel safer when someone shows consistency, attentiveness, and thoughtfulness online. It's a modern confirmation of reliability and emotional security. Even a brief message can communicate. I see you. I care. You're safe with me. That's why older men who do this subtly but consistently often leave women feeling unusually calm, respected, and protected, even if they're miles apart. And that's a wrap. Today we explored 5 subtle gestures that 89% of women say make them feel safe around older men, from calm, consistent eye contact to thoughtful digital check-ins. These gestures aren't flashy or dramatic, but they communicate trust, attentiveness, and emotional reliability in ways that women notice on a deep, instinctive level. If you've seen any of these gestures in someone around you, chances are it's not a coincidence. It's a reflection of genuine care and emotional presence. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these subtle gestures have you noticed before? Drop a comment below. Your experiences might help someone else notice these signals too. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next breakdown on subtle behaviors that reveal character and emotional safety. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week with more insights you won't want to miss.